Today we're going to go over how to change the strings on your 5-string banjo. And for a lot of people, this is a very dreaded thing to undertake, but it's really not that bad once you get the hang of it. And I'm going to show you some tips and tricks today that's going to make it a whole lot easier the next time you do need to change your strings. It's very important to keep good strings on your instrument, because if you're like me and you like playing high quality 5-string Gibson banjos or Recording King banjos or Presto banjos, the last thing you want to do is have them sound bad because you're too lazy to change your strings. So we will begin by taking the strings off. Now, a lot of times people will mark their bridges in case when you go to take a string off, your bridge moves one way or the other. I'm also going to be shooting a video on how to set your bridge, so I'm not even going to bother with that. Another thing to remember is a lot of people say only change one string at a time. That only applies to people who don't want to move their bridge. It's not going to hurt your banjo to take all the strings off of it at once. Doesn't help it any, but it doesn't bother it. Now, on most all my banjos, I have Presto tailpieces, and this one is obviously no exception. They're pretty easy to remove strings from, just off the hooks and around that little fan that comes off of it. I take my strings as I get them off and just wind them up almost like they come in the pack when you open them new. And that way they're not laying somewhere where I'm going to step on them. Now, actually, I'm going to go ahead and take them all off. It doesn't really matter which one you take off first if you're doing this process of taking them all off. I've heard a lot of people miss about it. It shocks the neck of your instrument, or it'll bow your neck or anything like that. But the most tension this banjo is under is when all the strings are on it. And that's what that truss rod's for, which I will also be shooting a video. So y'all seem to be really liking these, so I'm gonna keep doing them until someone says quit. If you notice, I just get it loose enough to start unwinding it up at the tuner, and then do the rest of the work with my hand, so that I don't wind and wear your wrist down. And when I get these, I just pretty much take this loop end and loop it around a few times, and that holds them. And I'll get camera lady, Ains, to come up and check out, pay close attention to this 5th string peg. See that little loop there? I'll teach you how to do that when we put them back on here, but this keeps from the little pokey coming out of the thing and biting you when you're playing up around the 4th and 5th fret. And it's really easy to remove too. I've seen people tie knots in them or bend them over. Some people get them like a little spring, but this is really the best way. If you notice, it just pulls through there. Now to putting strings back on. So I always use GHS PF 175s on my flathead master tone style banjos. These are also known as the Sonny Osborne signature set, and for the way I play and the way I set my banjos up, they seem to get the best tone. They're even all the way across. They feel even. None of them super spongy or super tight. And GHS are just long-lasting strings. I play a lot, but I don't have terribly sweaty hands or anything when I play, and I can usually make a set of strings last 2 months or longer playing a lot. So not many will do that. All right, when I go to put strings on, I always lay them out, and I always put the third string on first because that helps get a center line for your bridge. Another trick that my good buddy and machinist friend Edison Wallen taught me to keep your string from sticking in the nut slot is to actually lubricate the slot with lead or actually graphite from this lead pencil here. All you do is just go back and forth across the slot, and it gets the slots full of this soft graphite, and that works as a form of lubrication here for the strings to slide through. And we've all been at the festival on the hot day and go to tune one of these strings, and it goes tick, 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 and slides through that nut, and it becomes really, really hard to get it exactly in tune. It seems like it's always 5 cents high or low. So once you get these good and colored in, you can just take your thumb and erase most of it. Now it's time to put the strings on, and the first one that I always start with is the third string, because it gives you a good center line here to get your banjo straightened back out. And sometimes I'll bend this little loop to help make it a little easier to go down here and get on that little arm that it reaches out there to. And when you get this first one on, you want to try to check this with every string, but keep your tailpiece lined up down here to where it's not over to one side or the other. All right, bring him up here to the tuner. I try to have my tuner facing up this way to where I'm running the string back. And then I pull up about, I don't know, this much slack off the fingerboard, and I pull it tight, and I pull this way around so that it doesn't start sliding out. And now that it's kind of crimped, I guess what you'd say, on both sides, I begin winding this thing down. And you can keep a check on those winds and make sure they're stacking up one right after another. That makes them look a little bit cleaner, like the guy at the guitar store will do it. And there's no magic number on how many times you want it to wind around. I try to get 3, but sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 15. It just depends on how much you pull up right there. You want to check your bridge, make sure you're still putting it on right. If you'll notice, your 4th string slot's always much wider than the rest. So when you go to set your bridge up, always pull this way, never this way, because if you do it this way, it bottoms the front of these slots out. It'll cause your banjo bridge to buzz or get a fuzz tone to it. Like this, it always keeps the front edge of those slots nice and flat. And that's about where that's going to go. I'll do the rest of these rather quickly. So now that you've got the gist of putting the first one on until we get to the 5th string. All right, now for the 5th string. This can be a slightly aggravating process if you don't know this little trick. But this trick makes your life a lot easier once you know it. Bring it through the slot here. Pull them through the other side. And nothing changes until you come to the part where you want to clip your 5th string. Now, just get him wound on here. With the 5th string, I try to get 2 or 3 loops on it, because that's the one that more than likely is going to pull through on you if you don't get enough windings around the post. Make sure you get your string through the slot in your little pip there. All right. We'll deal with that later. All right, here's where the magic happens. Bring your other end of your fifth string back through the hole that your extra is coming out of. And be very careful, don't pull it all the way through. See how it's making a little loop there? Now, instead of having it sticking straight up or doing a little curly Q or something like that, pull this as tight as you can get it and as close as you can get it without it coming all the way through. I hope you can still see the loop there. And then on this side of the tuner, cut it as close as you can. And then the tension of that loop pulls back through. There's no pokey on this side. Now you won't be bleeding next time you play in B flat. All right, now let's cut these last remaining ones off. And I try to leave about, I don't know, maybe a ½ inch or so past the tuner of extra, just in case they do want to pull just a little. And I've never had one pull through. And I like to bend strings a lot, so they're under constant tension when I do that. All right, that should bring you up to how to change strings on a 5-string banjo.